Hello YouTube, welcome to potentially one of my longest ever videos that I'm going to record. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'll do it in one take and try and get everything that I remember into one video. And today we are going to talk about my journey on Twitch. I have just finished my last stream on Twitch, at least for now. And I wanted to explain how my journey on Twitch started, how it evolved, and why it is now ending. So if I'm looking to the left, then it's because I have a bunch of notes that I have written down to talk about. So the first thing I think we should talk about is how I got into League of Legends. League is obviously my main game and has ever been my main game on Twitch. And how I got introduced was simply my cousin showed me. I actually remember it was at their old house, and he was playing bot games, and he was showing me Karthus, funnily enough. And I remember he showed the Karthus ulti and the fact that Karthus ulti was global and you could kill 5 people with it. I was like, wow, that seems kind of broken. A few years later, I actually ended up playing a bunch of Karthus, which is funny in itself, but that is how I basically got introduced. And this was back in 2014. He showcased the game to me, and I heard a little bit about Worlds back in 2014, but I started really playing the game in 2015, and I obviously played with my cousin and my friends from kindergarten, actually. When I was, those 14, 15 years old. And before that, I was playing Counter-Strike Source. I had my own server on Counter-Strike Source, and that was kind of like my first online money that I made, because I had my own server and you could buy different things through it. And then we eventually swapped into League of Legends in 2015. Now let's talk about why I got into League, why it was such an interesting game for me. And the reason why was I was playing football before for many years and was starting to be quite good at it, to the point where I would start to get academy offers to try and play at the highest level as a young teenager. But I got injured, and it was the second time I got injured. So as some of you guys know, if you get injured one time, the recovery process is not as bad as if you get injured multiple times. And since this was already my second injury in quite a small time frame, the recovery process was gonna be very long, and it wasn't gonna be guaranteeing that I was gonna get to the same place in terms of performance than before I got injured. So because I was playing so much football, then I suddenly had a lot of time that I didn't know what to do with. And I, at the time, had a very bad laptop. It was a school laptop. And I think I was playing Minecraft with some friends back then, because that was like pretty much the only game I could play. But I realized that I could play League of Legends if I played on like ultra low settings, which to this day, even though I have a much better PC, I still play on ultra low settings, because that is simply what I'm used to from back then. And I enjoyed the game from the start. I enjoyed the learning process, and probably the most important thing was that I enjoyed playing with my friends. Because before we would do physical activities, we would be playing football, or we would go through like a parkour, whatever, area or whatever, and do that. But since we started moving a little bit apart, because I moved I moved to the next city, it wasn't easy to now hang out constantly physically, so we then instead decided to do it online, and we decided to play games. At first it was Counter-Strike Source we played together, then we swapped into League of Legends, and we had a period of time where we played CSGO and stuff like that. And that's basically how I got into League. It was just fun spending time with my friends playing the same game that they did. So yeah. So now let's talk about why and how I got into streaming. So in 2016, I replaced my school laptop with a gaming laptop because my school PC simply crashed. It was simply at such a bad state that it couldn't do anything anymore. And that gaming laptop I actually still have, but I don't have it in this room. But I still have that gaming laptop to this day. At this point it's obviously not that good, but I still use it. I used it as my school laptop actually for university, because now I have my real PC, which we'll get into. So now with this gaming laptop, now I could actually play the game and actually have FPS and see what's happening on my screen. And on top of that, I could actually stream on OBS. And the reason why was because my real life friends started to play League of Legends a little bit less. Some of them played very little, but hadn't fully quit, and some of them were still playing a little bit more, but not as much as I did. I was definitely the one that played the most out of my real life friend group. And I then started to create my online friend group, which was consisting of mostly Danish people, because I'm from Denmark. And this was also at the point where clubs in League was a thing and Dynamic Queue was a thing. So I decided to make a club named Danish Dynamic Queue. And the idea was that I simply wanted 50 people. I think we had 40 something at the time. That was around Platinum to Diamond Elo, that you could just invite to a game, so that you would be 5-man pre-made and you would then be climbing obviously a lot easier. So I made that group, but we didn't have an official place to kind of meet. Yes, there was the League chat, but that's not always the best. So I then was told by my friend Stefan, also known as Janko, to try like streaming on Twitch and try and like OBS and setting everything up. So I did that, and then that became the new hangout place. So a lot of the time, the entire Danish Dynamic Queue chat, instead of being in the League chat, would simply be writing in my Twitch chat. So that's how I got my first few viewers and how I basically started. I am no longer talking to Django today, not because we are not friends, but simply because we grew apart. I don't think Django is playing, or if he is, then he's playing 100 games a year, something like that. I haven't spoken to him in a few years, simply because we just grew apart. But Jenko was also trying to stream, but didn't find as much success with it and didn't find it as fun. And he quit that fairly early. But that's basically how I started streaming. And I streamed in Danish back then. And I actually want to showcase a clip of how it would look like. And this is a clip by one of my moderators, Tobias. So this is how it looked back then. I look very, very young. Let me just remove the camera here. Move it over here. So as you can see, I'm very young. In my bedroom, my old bedroom. Very young. Headset mic, the Steel Series. What? I don't even know what this one's called, but I still have this headset, but it's broken. I have it somewhere. And yeah, let's play the clip. Oh, and the one that you're listening to is another good friend of mine, Mikkel, who I also no longer talk to because we grew apart. And I don't actually know if he's playing, but he actually played a little bit of competitive, so yeah. And I'm playing Hecarim. And I'm popping off or something. Do I get Penta here? I haven't seen this clip in many years, so I don't remember exactly what happened.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was basically the clip. So I was very young here. I was 16. Playing with my friend Miguel. I think we were playing rank solo duo, playing Hecarim, the old jungle item. Yeah, I think we were playing on Nordic and East actually as well back then. So that's how it looked like back then, and that's how I started. I started on a gaming laptop. I was using my headset mic, and at first I only had obviously the gaming laptop, but since then I bought a second monitor, and to this day I actually still have that second monitor, even though it's not that good. It does the job for me. So yeah. So from 2016 to 2018, I streamed for fun, completely for fun, and enjoyed it a lot. And I streamed in Danish. But in 2018, I swapped from Danish to English, and the reason why was because there was a lot of drama on the Danish league section. And if we just go ahead and look at the Danish league section, then it has changed since then, obviously. But as you can see, there are 3 people who are live. At most, there would be maybe 20, 30 different people live, and back then the highest amount of viewers that somebody would have would be around 100, kind of like it is today. And that was basically the Danish league section. So as you can see, it's very, very small, very easy to start up in, but very difficult to make a living or do it professionally, because the growth is very, very slow. And we can also see that here. This is January 2017. I got 174 followers, 200, 260, 47, -1. That's a bit unfortunate. And then it skipped almost a full year. I don't know what happened there, or half a year. I don't know if I just didn't stream or whatever happened. Maybe it's just bugged. And that's basically how I started. And the reason why I swapped from Danish to English was because there was so much drama, and obviously the community is very small, so it was very split. And instead of the way that it was basically working was, it was a lot of groups, and people wouldn't host because everyone wanted to keep all their viewers to themselves. So instead of hosting and trying to help each other grow, kind of like it is in English, at least still in certain groups, people would just hold them, hold their own viewers, and they wouldn't host because they want to keep them. And everyone was just very focused on their own growth, their own stream, and it was more of a competition of getting the viewers compared to just sharing them and doing things together. That also meant that collaborating was not that good, and yeah, it's nice to start off with, but if you are ambitious, you definitely move away from it very, very fast. And I've seen a lot of Danish streamers do it since then, and there are many streamers from back then that have simply stopped. Pretty much all of them have stopped and moved on, which is quite obvious because it's 6 years and nothing lasts forever. At some point it has to come to an end. So yeah, none of those people are streaming anymore. I think maybe 1 or 2 are streaming like once a week or something, just completely for fun, and that's nice. But I wanted something more. I wanted to be a bigger streamer. And I didn't like the entire drama part because I was just focused on my diamond jungle gameplay back then. So in 2018, I finished gymnasium. So how the Danish school system is, you have 10 years of elementary school. I completed that. Then you have 3 years of gymnasium, which I was in. I think I started streaming when I was in second year or first year. And in the first year of gymnasium, I was doing very good. Everything was exciting. Everything was new. I was like, okay, this is hype. I like it. Because you move on to the next and new school, into the next school system. Because I kind of got bored and tired of the old school. So getting to a new one was definitely exciting for me. And the first year went good. Second year went not nearly as good. And then third year, I had a terrible time. I was playing League instead of going to school. But I was afraid of streaming because I was afraid of my classmates finding out that I was streaming instead of actually attending classes. I became very antisocial. I started just not hanging out with people. My grades started falling. The amount of times I went away from school went up. And I just had a terrible time. And I almost quit school. But I got convinced that I should continue and I should finish it. And if I did, then I would get a present, which ended up becoming the PC that I'm using today. So that was kind of like to keep me motivated to continue and finish it. I ended up doing it, not with the best grades, but average grades, which later were good enough grades to put me into university, which we'll get into. But 2018, I swapped from Danish to English because I had a gap year. I have then completed the gymnasium, and I had a gap year before I started to attend university. So in this gap year, what normally a lot of Danish teenagers do is that they work for half a year to save up some money, and then the other half they spend on traveling the world with friends or by themselves, or basically just getting life experience out in the world. And I was very different because I spent my gap year, or 95% of it at least, at home in front of my PC, streaming hundreds, well, not hundreds of hours, but I was streaming 60 to 70 hours per week, 7 days a week, no breaks for a very long time. And if we go ahead and look, then it's around here. So I ended in June, July-ish with school, 2018. And then I started getting more followers each month. And I did that throughout entire 2019 as well. And yeah, I ended up getting 1,000 followers comfortably per month, and the growth was just insane. The amount of support I had was insane. The amount of viewers I had, incredible. The amount of people that subscribed to me, insane. I could never have dreamed of that outcome from when I started. And even though I was very ambitious, I knew that it was a very small chance that I was going to get that many viewers, and that I would be like recognized and have any growth potential, because the competition on the English scene is 100x what it is on the Danish scene, if not 1,000x. As you saw, there are not that many Danish streamers. And it all started off with a host from a Greek Riven main, which I unfortunately cannot remember his name, but I remember some of his someone from his community. There are a few people that I still recognize to this day, and I still talk to a little bit online from time to time. But he was the first one to host me, and he hosted me for 80 viewers. And the reason why was because I played back then on Norwegian East, and I carried him in a solo queue game, so he hosted my stream. And all of a sudden I went from these like 20-ish viewers to almost 100. And I was really nervous. I felt like I was just sweating insane amount, and I started shaking, just imagining that there were that many people watching me. And I got a bunch of followers, and they ended up becoming regular viewers per a period of time, and that was kind of like the boost that made me go from 20 to 40 to around 50, 60 at the time. And he was the first one. Unfortunately, I can't recognize his name, but yeah. And that's what made me take streaming a lot more serious throughout 2018 to 2019. And as you saw, the growth was really, really insane. And I ended up getting to 100 viewers. I ended up getting to 200 viewers. I ended up getting all the way up to 500 viewers, and I became more confident, and it felt like a natural thing to have that many viewers. So I started just not being nervous and started just being kind of myself, even on stream. And it was insane, and still to this day I found it insane, and I still remember those days. And every single day for straight 9 months where I was just happy. I was like living my dream, my teenage dream back then, essentially. For 9 out of 12 months. But then what ended up happening... never mind. I should mention that I think almost no streamer has this insane amount of growth without help from other people. So to mention just a bunch of people, mainly it was jungle players who hosted me. Started shouting me out, but tarzaned, broxah, gripex, nightblue, a lot of really, really big names that I was looking up to at the time, not only in terms of elo, but also in terms of just their accomplishment in terms of streaming and pro play and within League and within Twitch and YouTube. A lot of these people that I was looking up to suddenly started recognizing me and started shouting me out. And in 2019, I made it to Grandmaster. I started to play against pro players, and everything was just really insane. And at first, it was again nerve-wracking. Like, I remember playing against broxah for the first time, and he was playing this Sin, and I lost that game because my Renekton was inting. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. But playing against like Perks and Yankos and Caps and all of these pro players that I was looking up to, at first I was, again, it was nervous because it was the first time I was high elo, kind of like the first time I got hosted and had a lot of viewers. It was nervous. Same thing happened again when I then had to play against pro players. But then I eventually ended up getting some recognition from them, and they shouted me out and they gave me host. And to give an example, there's this clip from Jonas, where I'm sitting now, not in my bedroom, but in a living room, because yeah, there was basically space for me to stream from there. And I'm playing here.
Holy shit, tarzaned with a 2.5k host, man.
Oh, it's 1.5x speed, don't know why it's like that. And he hosted me for, as you can see, 2,531 viewers. And I'm playing in Grandmaster to Challenger Elo, as you can see. I don't know if Grandmaster was a thing back then. Maybe this is before Grandmaster was a thing, because there's only Master and Challenger. I don't know. And I think this is Yepsu, no? I don't know. But as you can see, there's Aggressivo, Nicola Senpai, I remember. E-Roll was my duo at the time, because you could duo on high elo. And getting these amount of viewers, again, became nerve-wracking. I was comfortable with a few hundreds, but suddenly having 1,000 people watching you was nerve-wracking. And this is not even the biggest host that I've ever gotten. I've had some hosts that were a few thousands more. It was just, again, absolutely insane. It was crazy. And I would suddenly have like almost 500 followers in just a singular day. And yeah, insane. I can't describe it other than just it being completely insane. So yeah, for 9 months straight, I was streaming every single day. I was happy about it. I was living League of Legends. I would wake up, I would play for 8 hours straight, then I would chill a little bit, maybe play a little bit off stream. I would go to bed, I would be thinking about League of Legends until I then fell asleep. By the time I came up, I was thinking about streaming a League of Legends again. And in this season, I ended up playing, or in this time frame, I ended up playing 2,500 games or something, an insane amount of games, which eventually put me into Grandmaster. Unfortunately, I didn't get Challenger back then, but it was such an experience, and I was so happy back then. So, yeah. But there's a reason why I ended up stopping. And there's a reason why, to this day, I haven't managed to get back to those amount of viewers. And the reason is that after a 9-month period, one of my main sponsorships had their campaign that ended, and that meant that my income took a very big hit. I had a lot of subs, I had other sponsorships as well at the time, and it would give me a decent amount of money, but I had a main sponsor that gave me the most amount of support and that truly supported me throughout this entire journey. And it was the one that made me comfortable streaming these insane amount of hours, and made me want to stream. Again, it was kind of like this motivating factor, kind of like with completing school. The sponsorship kind of did the same thing, that I just wanted to stream constantly. I wanted to play League the entire day. And that one sadly ended, meaning that for the next 3 months, my income took a big hit, and it ended up slowly declining after that big hit even more, because I couldn't maintain the amount of subs I had, and then another sponsorship campaign ended, and blah blah blah. And the thing with streaming is that streaming is not consistent. The amount of viewers you have is not consistent, the amount of subs you have is not consistent. the amount of sponsorships you have is not consistent, and I was aware of it. But for 9 months straight, I was living my dream, and I didn't think about it until eventually one day I realized it. I tried to like keep it up and kind of stay cool, at least on stream, while behind the scenes I started, I wouldn't say freaking out at first, but I was worried and I was nervous and I started thinking about it more and more. And it became a mental factor, which is not something that I would say back then that it was, but looking back it was. And what it meant was that the reason why I applied for university after a full year of streaming full time was because of this income hit. And my parents supported me to stream for a full year and save up the money, which I'm very grateful for and happy about. But they said that if I wanted a second year, and this is where things become a little bit weird. Most Danes take a 1 gap year before they go to university. There are people that take 0, but there are also people that take 2. And some even 3. But the government has this rule or system that if you apply for university within, I believe it's 2 or 3 years, you get 5 or 10% extra on top of your grade, so you get an even better grade. And I pretty much knew that I was on the edge of being able to get accepted at a university or not being accepted. So I knew that I needed these 5 to 10% extra if I wanted to get into university. And my parents then said that because now streaming started going downhill, they said that if I wanted to at least stay at home and be able to save up good money for the future, that I needed something more stable, aka a real job. And I didn't like the idea of that. I didn't like the idea of going from full-time streaming to then having to just work like a regular job, like at a store or whatever, as a cashier, when I was making quite a bit more streaming than I would if I was just working as a cashier for that full year, half year or whatever that I did as a streamer. Yes, I put more time into it. I put almost double the amount of hours in, but I also made quite a bit more than if I would have worked at a store or whatever. So these factors basically led to me taking the decision that I wanted to try and apply for a university. Luckily, I was then told that summer that I got accepted and that I would be starting in August. So if you go to August, that is right here, where I got 1.1k. And this was like the time frame where, as you can see, I still started studying, but I still had time to stream, but then started taking it a little bit less serious. But then I had periods of time where I would then go up, and this is due to some factors that I'll get into, but COVID being one of them, a lot of people staying at home, was very good for streaming in terms of viewership, but it would be really bad for sponsorships, which we'll get into. But to get back to 2019, when I applied for university and had to take the decision between potentially working and streaming or applying for university, I am not sure. Since then, now almost 4 years later, 3.5 years later, I am not sure if that decision that I took in terms of applying for university was the right one for me. Short term at least, it hasn't been, because in the 3.5 years that I've been at university and studying, I've not had as much fun as I had doing streaming full time and grinding League. But tomorrow is my first day at my new job, and hopefully long term I made the right decision with going with university and going the traditional route, and simply just working, you know. And hopefully tomorrow will maybe not make me realize it, but in a week from now or 2 weeks from now, make me realize that, okay, long term, I probably made the right decision. But still to this day, I'm not sure. And if you ask me today if it was the right decision, I would probably have said no. But maybe from tomorrow or a week from now, 2 weeks from now, I would have said that yes, I took the right decision back then. But that is one of my biggest regrets so far, was not continuing and fighting and figuring out ways how to come back on Twitch and make good money on Twitch. But the reason why was because I was young, I was inexperienced. Yes, I had a few years in terms of streaming, but I didn't know any streamers because, as I said, my real life friends didn't have anything to do with streaming. At most, they would maybe watch a little bit, but that's it, and play video games, but they would quickly stop, right? And I would be the one continuing streaming. So I couldn't ask anyone for help. Same for my parents. They didn't have any insight on streaming. And I didn't really have anyone on Twitch that was in the same boat as me, where it's like they were kind of close or big enough to take it to the next step that I could ask for like advice. So I've kind of felt very alone and sat alone with this problem, and I didn't really figure out the solution to my problem. Today I have now realized that I had to spend less time on Twitch. Instead of streaming 70 hours a week, I should probably spend a few hours on YouTube, a few hours on Twitter or Instagram, reach out to people, collaborate, ask these highlight channels to promote me, hire an editor and a team and whatnot. Yeah, I now know the problem, or I now know the solution to my problem, but I can't go back because I don't have the same opportunities as I did back then. This was also what led to me joining Fnatic's network, Fnatic's streaming team, and Team Synergy, two huge teams. The reason why I'm not part of them anymore is because Team Synergy I was part of first, and then I got an offer from Fnatic Network, so I then jumped to Fnatic Network, and Fnatic Network was an okay team to work with at first. And the reason why I'm no longer with them is because they ended up ruining one of my sponsorships. And they essentially made me lose some money that I always would have gotten from a sponsorship, because they kind of promised some things and it didn't turn out to be what it was supposed to be. And I kind of got pissed by that. Because it was back when I had a few months that were not as good as the first 9 months, where I was like thriving. And essentially what I was chasing, at the time I knew a little bit about what I was chasing, but today I have the answer. I was essentially chasing stability in terms of income on Twitch. I was chasing what is a so-called Twitch contract. And you all guys know that Ninja had like a contract with Mixer for 30 million and whatnot. It wasn't that type of contract I was searching. I was just searching a contract for a nice amount of money. And I was a young teen at the time, so even like I would have said yes for 10k, maybe even 5k. But never ended up getting that Twitch contract, and I still actually to this day don't even know how close I was, because I didn't know how to get the Twitch contract. I guess the way that I assumed it was that if I streamed enough, Twitch would recognize that I put in the time and effort, and that then they would offer me a contract to continue what I was doing. But I have no idea. I legitimately don't know how close I was. So yeah, we will never find that out. So the reason why I suddenly had a big spike in terms of viewers was obviously people like Tarzaned hosted me and a bunch of people shouted me out. And then I decided, this is 3 years ago, so is this season 10? Yeah, this is probably season 10. In season 10, I decided to make an unranked, well, an Iron 4 to whatever rank challenge. Most known scripter is the one doing it. Has done it countless of times. I did it in season 10. I was not the first one to do it, because I saw that Apocalypse and RadRL or whatever had like the record at a time of like 112 wins, and I was like, I want to try and do that. So I did that with my good friend couldn Legend, and as you can see here, there's a Reddit post. Why is smurfing to beat the duo queue win streak record? Okay, a certain Twitch stream is currently 73-0 in Silver 1 and is aiming to beat RadRL's 150 plus win record. It isn't 150 as Panzer Dragon says here. To get this in Mari, you must have fed dozens of games and now they are steamrolling real silver players. Why is it acceptable? And as you can see, this was a Reddit post and had 12,000 upvotes. And it ended up being front page of Reddit and a bunch of people was mentioning it. Panzer Dragon made this video that got 110,000 views and a few others also did it. And then me and couldn Legend one day realized it, and we were freaking out on Discord. We were just sitting there, we were talking, and we were freaking out. I'm telling you, there were, I think at the highest amount, we had 18,000 upvotes and over 2,000 comments. Me and couldn Legend sat for one night and read every single one of those 2,000 comments. And we had this entire master plan of, because they didn't shout us out in this Reddit post, so we would one day, I don't even think we had a Reddit account at the time, but we would create one, and then we had this master plan of, okay, we need to perfectly strike at the right time and make sure that we announce that it's us and our stream link and all of our socials at the very best moment. So we decided to do that the next day, and we already saw a huge increase in viewers. That's what brought me from 500 to 1,000 viewers without any host for this entire challenge. And then the very next day we did it, and once again we made it to 1,000 viewers or a little bit higher. And then we went 79 wins, and then we lost one game because we kind of got trolled and stream sniped, and we played not as optimal because I guess we realized what was going on with this Reddit post and we were freaking out. So we ended up losing, and I lost my mind. I couldn't believe it because I was like, my entire Twitch career depends on what I'm doing right here, right now. If I lose, it's over. And it partially was because as soon as we lost, the viewership quickly declined. It was obviously bigger than before we started, but it was not nearly as big as its peak. And what he ends up doing is he goes through one of the games that we play, and then at the end, you can see, that I am losing my mind. So yeah. That was kind of how we got like the first, what I would call Twitch comeback, because I already started university back then. And this was like my first Twitch comeback after my no longer streaming on Twitch announcement. And I was ready at a certain point to quit university, to go back to streaming. And this was one of those moments where I was ready to do it, but I needed to see it over a little bit longer period of time, because we're talking about like a week here, maybe 2 weeks at most, where this was happening. And then obviously as soon as we lost, the viewership declined. People started talking less about us, and more people started just not caring, not watching, and it kind of went back down to normal. Then again, 2019 to 2020, I would still stream a lot, have these crazy ideas, but I could feel that it wasn't the same. I could feel from time to time it wasn't the same experience. I didn't have the same motivation and energy, and the chat energy and the craziness was just not the same level as the year before, and that affected me a bit. And then COVID hit, and I again saw a spike in viewers. That was like my second Twitch comeback. So I got a lot of viewers, but the issue was that in order to make good money on Twitch, you need to have a lot of subs, preferably an active YouTube that gives you a nice ad revenue. Bunch of viewers where you play a lot of ads is also quite nice. Donation is kind of just like a bonus thing, and then sponsorships. And then the most amount of money that you can possibly make is if you get like these official contracts. And I never got that one, but I had all the other things. But when COVID hit, you definitely see a spike in viewers again, and that would motivate me then again. But the issue is that it was very, very difficult to get sponsors. And that again kind of made it so it's like, yes, it's nice to have the viewers, but without the money, I wouldn't really be able to live. So I need some type of money. And the issue is that I live in Denmark, and Denmark's salaries and costs are very, very high compared to other places in Europe. So that meant that even though I am making money online, I still had to buy things just like everyone else. And those things, day-to-day life, are expensive compared to other places. Also because of taxes and wages and whatnot. So I would have to make quite a bit more because I live in Denmark compared to if I lived somewhere else. And this was a big problem because I kind of would get to the point where it's like, okay, I make a good amount of money for a period of time, but then it disappears. And then I don't make a good amount of money, and then I would be struggling. And it kind of always made me feel like somewhat stressed and scared of, because I didn't know what the future would hold. Well, that meant that streaming was not, I wasn't really ready to commit fully for a second time. But then the issue, because I was again having a spike in viewers, it wasn't the same feeling, and the reason why it was because I was not ready to go back to streaming just for fun, like I did in the first 2 years, because I had done it as a job for a year, and it was the best possible job. It was like a dream job, and then suddenly have to go back. It just didn't fit right with me, and I couldn't convince myself that going back would be the right decision. I made the decision of I'm not going to take another year trying to make a comeback in terms of streaming. But I had like a few moments where I did it part-time. But it wasn't enough. So then we moved to 2021 and 2022. And numbers across the board just went down. My motivation was lower, viewership was lower, subs were lower, opportunities were almost zero at the point in time. And a big problem was that I had a management team at the time who would manage like sponsorship stuff, but there wasn't like a whole lot for them to do because all sponsors were afraid of this entire COVID thing, that they didn't know if they should invest money or save their money or have ads and campaigns and whatnot. They didn't know. Everyone was kind of living in fear, and that was the reason why the opportunities were not there. So I was kind of, as I said on my last stream, that I was keeping my stream alive, but my stream was not thriving. It was not growing. It was not it was not the same as it used to be, but it was kept alive. But that is obviously not a lot in terms of amount of effort that I put in, so the amount that I got back was also not that high. And it was simply, at the end of the day, just not enough effort. So now we are in 2023, and I've had my last stream because of the new job that I'm starting at tomorrow. Then I have to write my final assignment and defend it in June. So the next time I'll have a lot of time to do whatever I want is going to be somewhere in July. But in July, I'm also going on vacation for the first time in 3 years. So it's probably closer to somewhere in late July or early August. So potentially then there could be a comeback. I still have goals within League, and I would definitely be down to stream on Twitch and whatnot, but I would like some type of safety and some type of guarantee, which unfortunately just doesn't exist in this industry, which is essentially why I'm now on the exit of this industry. I have a few goals, just to quickly mention them within League. I would like to reach Challenger on E-West. I've only reached Grandmaster on E-West, but Challenger in Northern East. And I would like to coach someone to Challenger. So far I've only coached someone to Grandmaster. But both of those goals require a ton of time and effort. And the reward, if I did it off stream without announcing, would be very, very low. And I would like there to be some type of reward. So that is something that I could potentially be doing if I come back in that like July, August period of time. But besides that, I would like to be high elo, at least Grandmaster, when MSI is in London, because that means that international pros will be on E-West. They might be playing some Champions Queue, but I believe that most of them will also play a lot of League. And last time I did this was in season 11, but previously I did that in season 9 as well. And that is always a huge motivator for me, playing with and against pro players, especially international ones. I think it's very great content. I think it's very good competition, and it kind of like ignites me to play League, kind of like in season 9. Yeah. Besides that, there have been a bunch of LAN parties in Denmark that I have attended and been invited to, where I would meet up with other streamers. Both good and bad experiences, mostly good though. I've made a lot of friends, both in real life and online, through both streaming and League. Even had relationships based on it. Not recently, but when I was a little bit younger. I've played competitive games, so people have asked me what about like pro scene and whatnot. I've played like amateur and semi-pro and tryouts and whatnot, and it was fun. But it's again a lot of time, and the money aspect is a big factor for me because I'm now 23. And the money is low up until you make it to an actual pro level, then the money is good. But the competition in US is simply way too hard. I think there are too many good junglers on US compared to me in terms of pro play. Yeah, I don't see myself having a good chance against them. And for the last 3, maybe almost 4 years now, I have been doing coaching. I enjoy coaching a lot. The most enjoyable thing is having people's messages of them reaching their goals and being happy and going on win streaks. And this I am going to continue doing throughout the next 3-4 months. So if you're interested in that, then feel free to message me. I almost have my coaching page on Metafy set up, so that is ready. And I'll still be playing a little bit of League from time to time, but obviously I won't have as much time. But if there's a day where either there's only a few coaching sessions or no coaching sessions at all, then I might play some League, but it will most likely just be off stream. And maybe I won't even be playing solo queue. Maybe I just want to play with a bunch of friends, which I did a few months back, a full team of Danish friends. Just for good old memory sake, kind of like redo the good memories of playing 5-man premates with my Danish friends. Not the same friends as my kindergarten friends back in season 4 or 5 or whatever, but some friends that I've made throughout those years. So I have made this tweet longer that will explain some stuff when it comes to Twitch and YouTube and whatnot. I'll still post a little bit, but I won't go too much into detail. This team fighting clip we showed. Here's another clip where I'm playing with my friend Destiny. I won't give his real name because I don't know if he's officially given his name on Twitch. But wait. So this was when, this is 5 years ago. I actually had a donation goal that I should go to a Danish LAN party. This was before I got invited to these LAN parties. A few years later I just got invited. This is my this one my eye attack account. And yeah, me and Destiny are again no longer talking because we grew apart, but he was a very good friend of mine back then and he always defended me. Here we have another clip. This is a few years. This is at the end of my Danish period. This was when Kha'Zix, oh my god, this was the best time. When Kha'Zix Invis, a movement speed was given when you just enter the bush. I was playing on my Fnatic Maria account, oh god. And then most recently, in season 12, I made it to 680 LP. Grandmaster ended that on Take LP together. It was a very tough grind. 10 times I was 1 win away from Grandmaster, and 9 times I lost that final game, but on the 10th try, or 11th try or whatever, I finally made it and I won that final game and I got put into Grandmaster. Here I was 664, but I had to come back a few days later, right before the season ended, to get 1 win, and I got it in first try. When the season then ended, I won another 3 games in a row, so I ended up like 729 LP, I believe. But yeah. We finally won it. This is 4 months ago. Sitting in the same room, same chair as I did back then. Right now, and you watched this game and you saw us kill the Nexus, type I was here because we are promoting into Grandmaster in 5 hours and 25 minutes. We will be, as of right now, I made it to top 700 by getting that extra win. Rank 886. It's the first time I have made it to late season Grandmaster on E West. It took me 10 times of being 1 single win of Grandmaster. It took me 5 days. It took me 35 hours, 50 something games, being rank 1 master for so long, but we finally made it. And 664 LP should be enough to secure Grandmaster for the last 3 days and 6 hours and 9 minutes that's left of the season. Yes! I finally did it! I was so happy back then. Fucking did it. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I finally did it. So yeah, this was 4 months ago, and after that I decided to take a break from League during preseason because I had exams literally like 2 weeks, 1.5 weeks after, maybe even 1 week after this that I had to focus on. And throughout preseason I decided I wanted to take a break because I was fighting for that Grandmaster, but I got it. And yeah, now we're in season 13. I haven't had a ton of enjoyment in terms of jungle. I have a lot of enjoyment in terms of playing top lane. I'm playing top lane to Diamond 4. I don't know if I showed in this video. This video is 55 minutes long. Insane if you have watched to the end here of 55 minutes. But yeah, so far I haven't had a lot of success in season 13. I haven't had a lot of enjoyment in season 13. 2023 so far has also been very, very slow and quite boring. So I'm very excited to start my new job and excited to start a new journey, a new chapter in my life. And I definitely don't regret starting on Twitch. I don't regret starting on League. I just wish that things planned out differently and that I had the knowledge that I have today. And if I could redo some things, I definitely would. But unfortunately, I can't do that. So now we're here. And that is essentially the journey over the last 6 years. Got down to, yeah, an hour-long video. So just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for the support over the years. If you made it this far into the video, then leave a comment saying you fucking monster. Type that. I will look back on some of these memories. Some of these clips were actually very enjoyable for me to watch because I haven't seen them in so many years. Recognizing people's voices reminds me of a lot of good friendships that I've had and created through this game and through this platform. But as I said, nothing lasts forever. And I'm happy to now say that my stream has meant a lot to me, and that's why I kept it alive for so long, but it was still dying. It was on its last breath of air, and now I can finally relax, letting people know that this is the journey and the reasons why that I'm here, and I hope people can understand why I've made the decisions that I have and why we're here and why I'm making this decision now. So but yeah, thank you to everyone who supported me, even the ones who hated me. Everyone has been a big motivator to me. No matter if you started watching me 6 years ago, if you started watching me last month, I appreciate all the support. And for updates, I will try and maybe update on Instagram. Mostly I'll update on Twitter and on Discord. I'll spend less time on other people's Twitch channels as well because I simply don't have the time. You'll find me on my Discord. You'll find me coaching still. You'll find some YouTube videos. And maybe I'll just try a bunch of different things now because I essentially have nothing to lose. So there might be some other things happening, or I try other things in the near future. Who knows? And then, yeah, we will see in June, July, August, whatever, when I'm done. And then we'll see what I do after that. Because I don't know, and I won't make any promises, and I haven't made any plans past that. But at least until that this summer, I've made somewhat plan from week to week what I want to do. Oh, it's gonna be so weird. It's gonna be really weird. It's the last time that I clicked go live in a long time, and I know. And yeah, hope you all do well. Stay safe, stay healthy. Please update me on anything you have going on in your life. I'm still interested in all of you guys, because all of you guys obviously for a year made my dream come true. So I still care about you guys, so don't mind if you guys message me. Don't be afraid to message me. Even though I'm busy, I will respond when I have the time. So yeah. Goodbye for now, but not forever. I will eventually be back. But yeah. Goodbye, guys.